Hi guys, my name is Nas, and today I want to talk about 10 books from 10 different countries. Usually I try to present each movie or book in the original language, but today there will be some languages that I haven't learned yet, so I decided to introduce every book in English, but I will read the first sentences of these books in the original language. 10 books, 10 opening lines, no spoilers. Let's go. Let's start with Nigeria. There is a book called Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. It's a groundbreaking novel that introduces the world of the Igbo people in Africa. Achebe chose to write it in English, but he filled the novel with Igbo traditions, proverbs, and unique worldview. It became one of the very first books to bring African literature to a global audience and to gain international recognition. I really love this book because for me it opened up a completely new world. I got to know the life of a community I had never even heard out before. And this novel is not just about culture, it also raises some important moral questions. I won't tell you which ones. I'm sure you'll want to discover them yourself when you read the book.
I am done with this. That's it. The end.
Well, some of us want to keep reading.
You don't speak for everyone, Jim.
And now let's read the first line of the book. Okanko was well known throughout the 9 villages and even beyond. Next stop, South Africa. The book I chose here is Disgrace by J.M.Coetzee, who later received the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2003. This novel is known for its precise, elegant language and the difficult questions it asks about human dignity, responsibility, and relationships. It's not always an easy book to read, but that's exactly why it's so powerful. It challenges you and makes you reflect.
This is the worst.
And here's the opening line. It was also written in English. For a man of his age, 52, divorced, he has, to his mind, solved the problem of sex rather well. Now let's move on to Asia, to China. One of my favorite novels of all time is Life and Death Are Wearing Me Out by Mo Yan, who later received the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2012. This is a long and challenging book, but it's also incredibly rewarding. Mo Yan combines history, satire, and magical realism, creating a story that is both playful and deeply philosophical. What I really enjoy about this book is the way it makes you reflect on life, death, and everything in between, but always with a touch of humor and imagination.
Imagination.
It's not an easy read, but it's definitely unforgettable. The novel gives you a rich and layered picture of China's 20th century history, and which is presented in a very unique way. And now let's read the opening line. 我的故事从1950年1月1日讲起。Next up is Japan. I am a huge fan of Japanese literature, and one of the most thought-provoking novels I've read is The Face of Another by Kobo. This book explores identity, alienation, and the mask we all wear in society. Abe is often called the Japanese Kafka, and you can really feel the same sense of unease and questioning in his writing. For me, this novel was fascinating because it makes you think about how much of ourselves depends on how others see us. And here's the first line of the book. Haruka meiru no hido tori nekete. Next, let's move on to South Korea. The novel I chose is The Vegetarian by Kang. It won the International Booker Prize in 2016 and brought worldwide attention to modern Korean literature.
까르보나라.
토니 몬타나?
오. 까르보나라.
라즈몬다라.
This is a short but very powerful book. It's poetic, unsettling, and unique. Han Kang's writing is quiet and delicate, but at the same time, it really shakes you because it makes you question freedom, control, and the choices we make with our bodies. I like this novel because it's one of those stories that stays in your mind long after you've finished it. And here's the opening sentence. 아내가 채식을 시작하기 전까지 나는 그녀가 특별한 사람이라고 생각한 적이 없었다. Now we move on to Europe, Portugal. The book I chose here is Blindness by José Saramago, who received the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1998. This novel is famous for its style. Saramago writes with very long sentences, little punctuations, and a flowing rhythm that pulls you in. It's intense, haunting, and unforgettable. What I love about this book is that it makes you reflect on what it really means to be human when ordinary life suddenly breaks down. I think we can all relate to that, especially after 2020. And here's the opening line, which is very ironic because it starts with such a short sentence. O disco amarelo iluminou-se. Now let's go to the Czech Republic. The novel I picked is War with the Newts by Karel Čapek. Čapek is one of the most creative European writers of the 20th century. This book is a brilliant mix of science fiction, satire, and social commentary. It's witty, imaginative, and still feels surprisingly modern today. I like it because it shows how literature can be both entertaining and thought provoking at the same time. The first sentence is quite long, so I'll just put it on the screen. I'll just read the first part of it before the semicolon because I've never studied Czech and I don't want to traumatize you guys. Gdybyste hledali ostrůvek dané masy na mapě, našli byste jej právě na rovníku kousek na západ od Sumatry. Now let's go north. The book I picked here is Hunger by Knut Hamsun. A few words about Hamsun. He was a famous Norwegian writer who won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1920. This novel has often been hailed as the literary opening of the 20th century and is an outstanding example of modern psychology driven literature. What I really admire about this book is how direct and emotional it feels, even more than a century after it was written. And here's the first line. Let's go south and travel to Turkey. The book I chose is Istanbul, Memories and the City by Orhan Pamuk, who won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2006. There was a time when I spent 2 months in Istanbul, and I remember walking into a bookshop and randomly picking up a book just because I liked the cover. And that's how I discovered so much about the city I was staying in. This is not just a memoir, it's also a portrait of a city. Pamuk beautifully blends his personal memories with the atmosphere of Istanbul, full of history, culture, and special kind of melancholy. What I really love about this book is how it makes you feel the soul of a place, almost as if the city itself were a character in the story. And here's the first line. İstanbul'un sokakları içerisinde bir yerde, bizimkine benzeyenim bir başka evde, her şeyle benim benzerim, ikizim, hatta tıpatıp aynım bir başka Orhan'ın yaşadığında, çocukluktan başlayarak uzun yıllar aklımın bir köşesiyle inandım. And finally, we arrive in Colombia. Of course, I couldn't leave out 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel García Márquez. The masterpiece is one of the most famous novels in world literature and a cornerstone of magical realism. It tells the multi-generational story of the Buendia family and the town of Macondo. What I find so striking about this novel is how it blends the magical with everyday, creating a world that feels both dreamlike and deeply real. And by the way, I recently watched the Netflix adaptation and I really liked it. The first season is definitely made with respect and love for the book. It's beautifully shot in Colombia, and the original language is Spanish. So if you've already finished the book and you want to enjoy a good TV series, this might be the one. And here's the unforgettable first line, which for me is one of the best openings in world literature. Muchos años después, frente al pelotón de fusilamiento, el coronel Aureliano Buendía había de recordar aquella tarde remota en que su padre lo llevó a conocer el cielo. That's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. More videos about movies, books, and languages are coming soon. Thank you and goodbye.